We see it all the time in the e-bike industry. Companies come in and decide that they have to have a bike that fits every niche within the bike market. Not Tenways. Tenways decided to go full force into commuter style e-bikes, and they took design cues from the people that know biking best, the Dutch. So let's take a closer look at the AGO T. Tenways is a new brand to us here at eBike Escape. So before we get any further into this review, if you out there have purchased a Tenways e-bike, please let us know in the comments down below for any potential purchasers and for us so that we can get some actual hands-on customer experience. We're obviously gonna be putting some mileage in on this bike, so we'll be able to report back in a little bit of time with if we have any major problems. While you're also down there, if you are looking to purchase any Tenways e-bike, please consider using our link down in the description. All purchases made after clicking those links help us here at eBike Escape keep the lights on and keep these bikes warm for the upcoming winter. Now, while Tenways is a new brand to us, they are not a new brand to the e-bike market. They've been around for a couple of years now. They started with their AGO line of e-bikes, which are all hub drive, belt drive e-bikes. That means that they are single speed. Whereas now with their AGO line, they have the T that you see here and the X. They are stepping into mid-drive e-bikes, which maintain that same belt drive. And I don't know if you can see it tucked nicely into the rear wheel there. It is a Enviolo internally geared rear hub. We are super excited for these components. These are Ryan and Mai's favorite collection. You get a mid-drive, a belt drive, and an internally geared rear hub for commuter style e-bikes. But Tenways puts their own kind of spin on some of the other components and offerings on the bike. We'll be sure to get a close-up look of that. Now, the format for this review is first we're gonna go through the componentry, kind of give you a close-up look of what makes up this Tenways AGO T bike. Then after that, we're gonna throw to some first-person riding footage where we're gonna show you how a internally geared rear hub works, especially when you have a mid-drive and belt drive, show you how quiet and fun that commuting experience can be. And then after that, we're gonna put everything to the test in our hill climb to show you how powerful that motor is and if it's capable of carrying me, a 225-pound rider, up our hill. And then after that hill climb test, we'll give you a nice, easy to swallow conclusion that kind of sums up the Tenways bike overall and gives you anything that maybe I missed or forgot to say or didn't get across on camera. We'll put it all nice together in that third-person riding footage. We can see how me, a 5'7" rider, fits on this e-bike. Before we talk about the components and get a close-up look at those, let's talk first about price. The AGO T is offered at $26.99, which for a bike that sports this type of styling and these components, that's a pretty good value, especially if you're gonna be using it as a car replacement or for some inner city riding. If you like some of the componentry and overall layout that you see here, don't forget the AGO X is offered with very similar components and outfitted very similarly. However, it comes in at a little bit cheaper at $24.99. That would be my preference if I had maybe some more crushed gravel paths or really like that mountain bike styling and you didn't require the step through. Now the AGO T here is offered in 3 different colorways. Starting out, we have this matte black. Then you also have the offering of a jungle green and a pearl white. Both of those colors are glossy colors. So you want something with a little bit more pop, those are gonna be good color options for you. Thanks to that step through frame design, the AGO T sports a rider's height range of 5'3" all the way up to 6'5". The total weight capacity is 265 pounds and it comes in with a total weight, fully outfitted as you see it here, at 68 pounds. Let me bring you in close here and show you the makeup of the AGO T. Starting up here in the front, we have some CST Classic Zeppelin XL tires. These are e-bike rated tires and they are in a 700 by 48C size, complete with reflective sidewall. These are a nice city treaded tire, and being that they are rated for e-bikes is nice to see. Then in here in the center of the wheel, we have some Tektro hydraulic disc brakes grabbing onto a 160mm front rotor. Wrapping that tire nicely are these metal fenders, which provide a decent amount of low coverage and are a must on any commuter e-bike. Also nice to see on a commuter style e-bike is going to be this quick release front wheel. So if you ever get a flat, you're not going to need any extra tools to take that off. Keeping you comfortable on your commute, we also have a Zoom hydraulic front fork complete with lockout and adjustment knob. As we work our way up, this front headlight is so nicely integrated, it's very easy to miss. This is a integrated LED front headlight, and tucked nicely here on the sides, we actually have these integrated bosses. Currently, Tenways does not offer any optional accessories besides what comes included, but we're sure in the future they are going to be adding a front rack. As we progress up into the cockpit, we find this nice adjustable front stem, as well as these fairly swept back front handlebars. Over here in the cockpit, we have these very nice ergonomic grips. They are non-locking. Tucked behind there, you will find these Tektro hydraulic disc brake levers, which do not have motor cutoffs. Here is the 5 buttons that control the display. We'll come back to that in just a minute. On the right-hand side here, we have a nice bell, matching lever, matching half ergonomic grip. And then while we're over here on the right-hand side, here is a close-up look at the Enviolo twist grip shifter. Now, I understand if this looks a little off to anybody out there, as it doesn't have any traditional gearing. It actually just has this gentleman here that is climbing a hill, which is gonna mean it's on its easiest side. And then you would simply twist this to flatten out the hill for when you are on flat ground, to basically match the rider there to whatever terrain is in front of you. Now, before we wrap up the cockpit of this bike, we have to talk about the display. This is a nice color LCD display, but like most color LCD displays, they are very difficult to see in direct sunlight. And I needed to come up here close to my house to get access to download the app so I could really show off this display. So let's go ahead and talk about the display and show you what it is capable of. All right, so to turn the display on, you have some buttons over here. This is a 5-button display. We have seen this from a couple other manufacturers before. It's a nice rubber buttons. The power button is located on the far left side here. You'll hold it, you get greeted by a nice Tenways, and this is where it's going to ask you for a password input. Now, the default password for the bike is going to be simply 0000. So to cycle through that, you push the I button in the middle, cycle through all 4, and then push it, and it'll take you to the display. And here is where you get kind of the overview and the full view of that display. Starting in the upper left-hand corner, we have the time. Moving our way to the right-hand side there, you see that we have a battery. It is in a percentage and a LED bar. Just below that, front and center, you have the miles per hour. Just below that, we have the motor power, which is this bar, which will illuminate blue and show you how many watts of power it is giving you. Lower left-hand corner, you have the current level of assist. That is 0 all the way up to 5. Located just next to that, we have our average speed and max speed. And then to change those lower settings, you simply push the I button, and now you have the total time the bike was on, a range, and that range does also adjust with what level of pedal assist you're in. Then you can cycle to CO2 avoided and trees saved, trip distance, and then total distance that you traveled on the bike, like an odometer, and then back to average speed and max speed. Now, this display also has some advanced settings. To get into those, you simply hold the I button over here on the left, which is the middle button. Located to the right of that, we also have the headlight button. You hold that to turn the headlights automatically on. Now, to get into the advanced settings, holding that I button, first thing you're gonna be greeted with is clear trip. This is where you can clear your max speed, average speed, and trip time. Up and down arrows to move through the menu. Next is gonna be display units, where you can be miles per hour or kilometers per hour. Then we have our backlight brightness. Go ahead and turn that on to 5. You can also set that to auto. There is a nice light sensor here to where it'll automatically sense what the ambient light around you is. Then you have auto headlights. So the headlights will turn automatically on or off, or you can leave those on manual. Auto power off, how long the bike will stay on. Speed limit, now this is not adjustable. It is automatically set to 32 kilometers an hour. Here's where you can change that welcome password, or you can even turn it off. So I'm gonna go ahead and turn that off. You could also, like I said, change the password to something to keep the bike locked if you step away from it. Here's where you have system info in case you ever needed that. Then we have our date and time, so where you could adjust that, as well as Bluetooth for if you're setting up your app, and then you can exit out of the menu. Now, like I said, this display does have app connectivity. In order to get into that, you will simply download the app, and there's that either that QR code in the display, or there's also a QR code located down here on the lower section of the down tube. And you simply log into the app, set up your account, scan that QR code, and your bike will automatically be linked. Now, this app is not needed for anything really fancy. It does have some of the same metrics and things that it showed in the display, but you can also record your rides, of course, and use the map functionality within that. Now, one of the benefits of that is not currently available for the AGO on the Seago, you could earn points and accumulate those points to unlock maybe the ability to purchase a set of fenders and things like that via those points. So hopefully at some point they will bring that to this bike. It's just kind of a nice functionality to have in the background, but I'm happy to see that it is not something that is necessary to access maybe or unlock the speed of your bike. It's just something that you can use if you choose to. All right, with that out of the way, let's get into some sun and continue to talk about the Tenways AGO T. The Tenways AGO T sports this really sleek and really smooth frame here, and tucked in nicely in the frame we have the battery. To remove the battery, you simply twist them towards the front of the bike and the battery will pop up, and then you can simply pull it up and out. Here's a look at that really sleek battery. It has this 3-color LED which changes based upon the charge physically left in the battery. On the side here, it says we have a 36 volt, 14 amp hour battery, which is a 504 watt hour battery. The Tenways AGO T comes with a 2-amp charger. And if we turn the battery over, we will find the charging port. The battery can be charged both on or off the bike. The charging port for the battery when it is in the bike is over here on the passenger side of the bike, down here near the pedals. This is a re-engine pack and is listed to have LG cells inside of it. To get the battery back in, you simply line up this little groove here on the bottom and push down to lock the battery in. And again, keys are only needed to remove that battery. Thanks to that mid-drive motor down there and torque sensor, this battery is capable of getting 63 miles of range. That might be a little bit on the high side for what you might see in not perfect and optimal conditions, but we do believe 40-ish miles, 40 to 50 miles is gonna be a very good and consistent number that you'll be able to hit out of this battery pack thanks to that mid-drive motor. And one other thing I found very interesting about this battery pack when I was reading on Tenways' website, that they clearly list if you have any problems within the first 2 years out of this battery pack, they will replace it completely free of charge. The pedals included on the AGO T are these flat, grippy, more cruiser style pedals, really fit that commuter look. And that pedal helps you put your power into this Bafang M420. This is the newer line from Bafang. These are much lighter and much smaller motors. It is capable of putting out 80 Newton meters of torque and is listed as a 250 watt motor. We've had some previous experience with these types of motors, and I can tell you that that wattage output number is probably on the low side. Be sure to call that out during my first person riding footage. The pedals are nicely out of way of this really long kickstand. And then back here, here's a look at the rear design of this rear chainstay. Kind of different, comes down from the top, different way of attaching to the rear wheel. Rear Tektro hydraulic disc brake. And we work our way up to these nice metal fenders and integrated rear rack. Now this rear rack has a weight capacity listed as 25 kilograms here. As well as on the back of the rack here, we have this really nice integrated rear taillight. Now, unfortunately, because there are no motor cutoffs, this is not a flashing brake light. It is just a always on or always off rear taillight. Next up, we have the exciting stuff. We have this Gates carbon belt drive, which runs here all the way up to the motor. Now, one of the beautiful things about Gates carbon belts, you also have this nice belt protector here, so you can't really see all of the belts. But one of the nice things about the belts is that they are maintenance free for an estimated 20,000 miles. That means you do not have to grease it, you don't have to clean it, and it is virtually quiet as it is rubber instead of metal, and all of the shifting is going on internally in here. So when you're on a commuter bike and you really just want to jump on and go, this is really the best of all worlds here. Now, controlling that shifting is going to be that adjuster up there in the cockpit, but back here inside of the rear wheel, we have the Enviolo seamless shifting system. And then as we come up, that belt is connected all the way up here to this Bafang M420 motor. And as you can see there, Gates carbon CDX front chainring. And then while in the front, we have a suspension fork. In the rear here, we have a suspension seat post, which holds onto a Cella Royale saddle. It's a pretty comfy saddle. I don't have any complaints from all of the riding that I've done on it, and it is pretty nice. Now, quickly, I just wanted to hop on here and show you what me, a 5'7" rider with a 29-inch inseam looks like on this bike. So it's a very comfortable pedaling position. I can get full leg extension, but if you are on the shorter end of that height range, you may have to remove the suspension seat post to get those couple extra inches of drop here. Overall, very impressed by the componentry. So how does it ride? Well, let's throw some first-person riding footage to find out. All right, here we are at the first-person riding portion of the Tenways AGO T review. This part of the review, I'm going to try and talk about the riding characteristics, how the pedal assist levels work, try and explain to you how the Enviolo shifter and mid-drive motor work together. One thing I realized I forgot to mention in the walk-around review is that I found this USB port tucked here nicely underneath the display. Allows me to charge my phone while on the go. Operates off of the battery, very nice feature to have. And holding my phone in place currently, I'm using the bike case clamping phone mount. I have yet to lose my phone with this mount, so very happy with it so far. And recording the speed while we're on the go, I'm using a speedometer app from the Apple iTunes store. So with that all the way, let's talk more about the bike. So this suspension, I'm definitely feeling that suspension seat post right now while I'm riding, as well as that front fork. The path becomes a little smoother up here. This first section is a little bumpier, which is actually kind of nice, so I can test out that suspension. Other than that, the riding position on this bike is very upright. Having that adjustable stem, you can even adjust it up more, put yourself in even more of an upright riding position. Let's go ahead. We are going to make the hill the steepest over here on the Enviolo shifter. And we are currently in pedal assist level 1. I'm gonna have to pull my sunglasses off here to see this display. It is a beautiful colored LCD display with a lot of information, but polarized sunglasses are not nice to them. That's kind of one of just the downfalls of color LCD displays. So yeah, so here we are, pedal assist level 1, and I'm trying to keep my cadence the same through all of this, as the torque sensor will amplify the power you're putting in. So if you put in more power, you're going to get out more from the motor. But as of right now, we are kind of getting about 8, 9 miles an hour. I don't know if you'll be able to see my legs turning, but it's a pretty nice, easy cadence. And I have the hill at its steepest part over here on the Enviolo shifter. All right, we'll go ahead and kick it up into pedal assist level 2. And I saw the power bar go up a little bit, but I didn't feel any more motor power. And we're still doing about 7, 8 miles an hour. Let's go ahead and let's flatten out this hill a little bit. So if I'm putting in a little bit more effort, see if that motor, yeah, okay. So we're getting a little bit more power. It definitely tapers in the power. It's a very nice, easy, approachable amount of power. It doesn't, throw you off the bike or anything like that. So as we flatten out this hill for this person over here on the shifter, we get and I'm putting in just a little bit more effort, maybe just a little bit more pressure on the pedals. I'm not really putting in a faster cadence, I'm just kind of pushing down a little bit more. Now we're up to like 10, 11 miles an hour. I realize I may not have talked about it before, but so the way that this shifter, the Enviolo shifter works, is that it actually controls the gearing in the rear. It changes the ramp angle that the gears inside roll on. And what that ramp angle changes is the amount of effort. It's like same thing. It's like going from the biggest gear on your chainring to the smallest. It's a very nice system. It's whisper quiet. It's very easy to operate, and it allows you to have the operation of that belt drive, like we saw, which has a super long lifespan. And if you can hear, the only thing I hear right now is the gravel underneath the tires and that motor putting out just a little bit of power. So let's go ahead and kick it up. Pedal assist level 3. Yeah, and I definitely felt a little bit more power come on there. Again, it's a very smooth input of power. Again, I'm going to flatten out the hill a little bit for this guy and try and keep the same amount of cadence, but just pushing down a little bit more and going 12 miles an hour here. With the tree coverage, the GPS is going to lag just a little bit. But yeah, 12 miles an hour there. It's a very sensitive torque sensor. Like I found myself, if I just miss a cadence or miss a rhythm for a second, I will cut the power. So it's a very sensitive motor, which is kind of nice, especially since you don't have motor cutoffs. All right, go ahead and kick it up. Pedal assist level 4 now. Now, before we get into what the top speed is going to be at level 5, thanks to there being no throttle and the fact that this bike hard limits your top speed even while pedaling to 20 miles an hour, this is a class 1 e-bike. The great thing about a class 1 e-bike is that they are allowed in maybe more parks and things like that since they do not have throttles. Just kind of leans more into that Dutch styling where they're meant more for commuting and just kind of getting around, not more really zipping around like we kind of do on some of our other e-bikes. So, all right, I'm gonna go ahead and flatten this hill all the way out now. And so I'm providing not a different cadence, like I said, just more pressure on the pedals. And I'm getting up to 15 miles an hour now with relative ease. I mean, this motor is pretty powerful. It's carrying me right up there. Go ahead and slow down at this crossroad here. And see, all right, so you see now, here's one of the great things about that shifter is if you're on a normal bike, you have to be moving and pedaling to shift. Whereas on this, you could be at a complete standstill and you could simply roll that hill up as much as possible. And you don't have to worry about any sort of derailleur issues or anything like that. And then you just kind of roll the hill back down. So you can go to a complete stop. So if you're like me, you're pulling up to a stoplight and you forget to shift, that will allow you to still get into the right gear to take off, even though you forgot. All right, so now we are doing about 15, 16 miles an hour pedal assist level 4. Let's go and kick it up, pedal assist level 5. So this is the highest pedal assist level. And I don't know if you'll be able to see it, but there's a blue bar here and it is completely maxed out. And so I'm trying to be about the same cadence, like I said, with just more pressure on the pedals. It's still a comfortable amount of pressure. And we are doing 18. I see there's a little bit of a bump there. That suspension seat post, I definitely felt it. And that front fork definitely soaked up quite a bit of that. Very comfortable ride. So here we are, 17, 18 miles an hour. And this is at a comfortable cadence. I'm not providing too much of my own power, but I am still providing my own power. And if I wanted to go any faster, just push on those pedals a little bit harder, and that motor almost instantly gets me right up to that 20 mile per hour limit. Let's go ahead and stop real quick and let's do a quick acceleration test. So I am in pedal assist level 5 and I have the hill as steep as possible, starting out from a dead stop, and I'm just gonna give it all of my power and see how quickly I can get up to that 20 mile per hour limit. See if I can do it before these yellow street crossing signs up here for me. Yeah, I am pretty much 16, 18, 19, 20. And if you can hear, I'm not out of breath. That was not a lot of effort. and I was almost instantly able to get blazed pretty much right up to that 20-mile-per-hour speed limit. It was a very easy, approachable speed. And it's this bike, when you put in that little bit extra effort, definitely gets you up there quickly. Now, another question I know we get asked very frequently is, if I run out of battery, how is my bike going to handle? Can I ride it without a battery? That answer is always yes. It's just going to depend on how much effort you really want to put in. The nice thing is that this Enviolo shifter goes very low, meaning that it has a very easy cadence. Like I'm going to make the hill as steep as possible, and I am barely providing power. We have some nice street treaded tires. They're also very thin. They're not fat tires. I mean, I'm at 6 miles an hour, barely putting any effort. And if I wanted to go just a touch faster, I'm just pushing on my legs a little bit, flatten out that hill, and pretty much get to that 7-8 miles an hour pretty easily. Now, this bike is on the lighter end compared to some, has thinner tires, but there is extra weight. And regardless of the e-bike you're on, if your battery dies, hills are going to be quite the challenge. At the beginning of the component section, I hinted that, you know, a mid-drive e-bike may not be for you. What did I mean by that? Well, most mid-drive e-bikes, not all, but most mid-drive e-bikes are torque sensors. And so torque sensors, measure the amount of power you're putting in and amplify what you're putting out. Not everyone likes that. And not everyone likes not having a throttle. I don't mind it as being a regular cyclist out on the road. I prefer this type of riding, but I understand that that is not for everyone. Sometimes you just want to hop on your bike and go. You don't want to have to put in that much effort. I can understand that. Or if you're not capable of putting in that much effort, I can understand that as well. If you're just trying to get back out and ride again, that's completely fine. But it is something to be aware of. It is nice that there are so many options out there on the e-bike market so that you can really pick the bike that fits you, the rider, the best. All right, with all that out of the way, let's see what this Bafang motor and Enviolo shifter are capable of up our hill climb test. Here we are at the hill climb test. In this part of the video, what we want to show you is if the bike and really the motor is capable of carrying you up a hill. Maybe you can find a hill that matches yours in the area, or you can just reference my weight and say, I'm less than that. I'll be able to make it up. So for the record, I'm a 225-pound rider, and we will also put the specs for the hill on the screen now. You can kind of compare that to some of the hills in your area. So here we go. To start out, I am going to be in pedal assist level 1. Now, if you are familiar with our reviews as well, you will know that typically we go up the hill the first time on throttle alone and then come back down and go up while pedaling. This bike, being a mid-drive, does not have a throttle. Not all mid-drives don't have throttles. There are some out there, but it requires a little bit extra forethought when using that throttle because you can strip the rear gear. But you don't have to worry about that, being this is a belt drive and internally geared. So go ahead and make this gentleman's hill a little bit bigger, as I am only in pedal assist level 1. I'm going to do my best to keep putting in the same amount of pressure on the pedals, but it's a little difficult to do sometimes. Also, being that the weather has shifted a little bit here in Wisconsin, I am a little sick. I've got a little cough and such. So please, if I'm out of breath, it's not because I'm having to put in more effort on the bike, just I'm recovering from a little sickness. All right, so here we are. We have the hill over here for this little gentleman, as steep as it can go, as well as here in pedal assist level 1. Doing about 7 miles an hour, putting in a decent amount of pressure on the pedals. So let's go ahead and kick it up, pedal assist level 2. And like we noticed in the riding footage, it doesn't give you all the power right at once when you shift it. Kind of eases on a little bit extra power over time, makes it a nice approachable bike. Felt a little bit more. My top speed obviously went up. My legs, I could put in a little bit extra effort here. Getting up, probably getting a mile an hour or two there. Now I'll go up pedal assist level 3. Keeping the terrain for the same for my little gentleman over here on the Enviolo. And yeah, I think my legs are actually just spinning a little bit faster, but I'm putting in the same amount of pressure on the pedals. And that's one thing about the torque sensor that I don't know if I did a good job describing before. It's not the speed at which you're rotating your legs that'll give you more power. It's actually how much pressure you're putting on the downstroke of the pedal. The actual torque, it's amplifying that. So trying to keep the same amount of torque and pressure on the pedals here. Speed slowed down a little bit as the hill got a little steeper, doing about 6 miles an hour. This motor is also only listed as a 250 watt motor, but it's not batting an eye at this. If we had a 250 watt rear hub motor bike going up this hill right now, it'd be struggling to get up, no matter how much it peaks at. All right, let's go ahead and shift up to pedal assist level 4. All right, there we go. Still, I guess, eased up on my legs a little bit. I didn't notice big shifts in power between 3 and 4. I noticed a big one though. Let's kick it up. Level 5, there we go. Felt more power come on. Again, almost instantly. And yeah, still holding me right at about 6 miles an hour. This is the steepest part of the hill.
Compared to other bikes, this is about the time when the bike would really be slowing down, and then the hill kind of tapers out up here and it picks up about 5-6 miles an hour. And I've kept the terrain the same on the shifter over here. So yeah, my legs are working a little bit, but not more than I'm used to. It is, again, this is a mid-drive e-bike and it doesn't have a throttle, so it's meant more for people that are typically used to pedaling or are looking for more of a pedaling experience compared to maybe a bike that they can't ride anymore. This would be a great option to maybe swap out your old acoustic bike for maybe commuting just a little bit further. So since we don't have another hill climb here to go through, let's go ahead and go back down the hill. We'll keep the cameras going and I'll just show you what the brakes are capable of on this bike. So here we go, we're getting about, there we go, go ahead and flatten out this terrain here for this gentleman. All right, there we go. So let's get up to about, I don't know, 20, 25 miles an hour there. Show you what these Tektro brakes are capable of. All right, 30, a little bit faster. There we go. And just kind of easing them on nice and even and equal, and that bike slows down with no problem. These Tektro hydraulic disc brakes have, you know, they're very capable. This is not the first time we've seen them. I've found that I can trust them going down that hill to slow me down every time. A little bit of slide out of the rear wheel. Again, I'm applying nice even pressure. But yeah, overall, the Tenways AGO T made it up that hill, no problem. Minimum speed of about 6 miles an hour. So let's go ahead and throw it to some third-person riding footage. You can see how I fit on this bike. And while you're looking at that footage, I'll go ahead and give you maybe a little pros and cons list of why you should consider the Tenways AGO T.
Tenways draws on the spirit of urban mobility and sustainable transport from the people that I think know it best, the Dutch. The AGO T is a strong contender in this mid-tier commuter market. With a price of $26.99, it is not the most affordable model on the market, but it sports my favorite trifecta of bicycle componentry. This is the reason I was adamant with Tenways that this should be the first model that I review. The combination of a mid-drive motor, an Enviolo transmission, and a Gates belt drive system are not the most economical, but they do provide a maintenance-free, clean, and smooth riding experience. It's hard to get this across on camera, but if it says anything, Ryan and I both choose e-bikes with this combination of componentry almost daily. Well, that is when we're not hauling our kids around on cargo e-bikes. The styling of the AGO T also takes inspiration from the Dutch, featuring a nice wide step-through frame, swept-back handlebars, and even an adjustable stem to truly put you in that upright signature Dutch bike position. If you prefer a more traditional style and seating position, check out the AGO X. The X does have a high step frame and mountain bike style components. The AGO T's step-through frame nicely integrates the battery, which can be easily removed from the top, my preferred location for battery removal. Undermount batteries can be frustrating and difficult to remove. The battery is average sized at 14 amp hours, but given the efficiency of mid-drive motors, you should easily be able to get about 30 to 40 miles. Tenways claims a range of 63 miles, which could be achievable if you travel at lower speeds. At the heart of the AGO T is one of the latest Bafang mid-drive motors, the M420. This motor is small but very capable. The M420 may be considered small on paper due to its 250 watt rating, but it also packs 80 newton meters of torque. It carried me, a 225 pound rider, up our hill climb test quietly and without any fuss. I would have loved to try this motor on throttle power alone up our hill climb test, but like most mid-drive e-bikes, the AGO T does not come equipped with a throttle. While some may balk at the 20 mile per hour top speed, it's a non-issue for urban dwellers where this is often the sweet spot for commuting/exploring a city. Moreover, its Class 1 rating allows it to glide through any space that welcomes e-bikes. The AGO T's smoothness continues from the motor and drivetrain into the overall ride and comfort. Featuring a Zoom hydraulic front fork and suspension seat post, the comfort they provide during the ride was very pleasant. The optional app integration is a subtle nod to the tech-forward path e-bikes are on, but I was extremely happy to see that this is there when you want it and non-obtrusive when you don't. The AGO T's color LCD display is visually appealing. It does feature some frivolous stats, and to be clear, we here at eBikescape are all for reducing car trips for the more fun and cheaper option, e-bikes. And heck, some have even a reversion to cars for inner city driving. But display metrics tracking CO2 and trees saved are pretty silly. Still, we love the large LCD display for its size and color. The AGO T isn't without its quirks. The frame does only come in a one size frame, and because of the suspension seat post, you may lose some of that lower end height range, which is around 5'3", due to that extra seat post height. The colorways for the bike are subtle, but if you're like me and have kids, the matte black frame is going to attract all kinds of little fingerprints and will need to be wiped down frequently. The AGO T is one of the newest bikes for Tenways, so there is a noticeable lack of baskets and other cargo carrying accessories from Tenways. Thankfully, the AGO T does come outfitted with fenders and a rear rack, but if you're looking for baskets or front racks, you'll need to look to the aftermarket for those components. Check out some that we recommend and sell at shop.ebikescape.com, linked in the description. Tenways is also a newer brand, especially in the US market. I carry my usual reservations about after-sale support and long-term reliability, but thanks to their strong presence in the EU market, I'm a little less concerned than normal. If you are from Europe or have a Tenways bike here in the US, let me know down in the comment section below how they are as a brand and how's your bike holding up. And if you're looking to purchase a Tenways e-bike, why not do so after clicking our link down below? It's a free and easy way to support us here at eBike Escape. Thank you all in advance for the support. Ultimately, the Tenways AGO T is a modern e-bike that sports technology and components that blend form and function nicely. If you are someone that likes to ride an e-bike on the leading edge of componentry, or if you just don't like maintenance, then the AGO T is definitely worth considering. What do you think of the AGO T? Are internally geared hubs the way of the future? Let me know in the comments down below. Thank you all for watching and supporting us, everyone. Ride safe, and I'll catch you all in the next one.